Welcome to Hope. I'm your inspiration guide, Adam Gallus, here to offer hope for a hopeless world for anybody who dreams of a better, more just, fair world of abundance for yourself, your children, your children's children, and for all of Spaceship Earth. Today, we're talking about the hope for the future of employment and work. Now, I know a lot of people are worried about AI and the robots, and they're going to come and they're going to take all our jobs. And of course, we've all heard the stories about how in 1800, 98% of Americans worked on farms. And if you had talked to Thomas Jefferson and explained that 200 years from now, 2% of Americans work on farms, his mind would have been blown. He would have thought we'd all be unemployed. And the fact is that, yes, innovation, disruption, it changes things, but it makes things better. In 80% of the jobs that we do today did not exist in 1940 when the Bureau of Labor Statistics was created and started tracking various job categories. Now, let me show you something that is absolutely incredible. When I saw this in a TED Talk, my mind was blown. I had to double check this. So some futurists, people like Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil with an 86% accuracy rate, predict that in the next 5 years, we will see more technological progress than in the last century. 20 times faster technology adoption. Mind-blowing. But guess who else agrees with that? Dell Technologies, which did a study, and they estimate that 85% of the jobs that we will be doing in 2030 have not been invented yet. Now, you might be wondering, oh my God, when was this study done? Was this 2020? No, this was in May of, this is this year. So they're predicting in 6 years, 85% of the jobs we'll be doing have not been invented yet. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth is this possible? I mean, my God, has to be a limitation to this exponential growth. Well, let me show you something that's absolutely incredible. A perfect example of how AI has the potential to completely revolutionize the world for the better. So, protein folding is the holy grail of medicine. This is how you can come up with new drugs. This is how you can cure cancer. This is how you can even reverse aging. But protein folding is so complex that biochemistry PhDs, on average, take 4 years to model just one protein. AlphaFold from Google's DeepMind was able to do what takes a human PhD 4 years to do it in minutes. In just 1 year, it was able to model 220 million proteins, 1 billion times faster than humans. And 2 years ago, not even today, 2 years ago, Meta, the company behind Facebook, created their own protein folding modeling AI that was able to do 617 million protein fold simulations, high accuracy, in 2 weeks. That is 71 times faster than Google. That is 71 billion times faster than human PhDs. As Peter Diamandis said in one of his incredible talks, what AI represents is like finding a continent with 100 billion grad students willing to work for free, just maybe 3 watts of power each. Absolutely revolutionary. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, we have all this new technological adoption, revolution. 85% of the jobs that we'll be doing in 6 years have not been invented yet. But how the heck can we train and prepare for this? Now, in my second episode, I talked about how AI personalized education can take even children, poor, Black, autistic kids with who hate learning, and turn them within 1 year, 2 hours a day, to the 90th percentile in science, math, and reading. How this can revolutionize education for children. But what about adults? What about me? You're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. How are we going to embrace this incredible 85% new jobs by 2030? Tens of millions of new jobs to be created. Yes, but how do we get the training? Well, this is what Google has an answer for. They have personalized training at your own course for free. Now they're starting out with data analytics. You can see here all the different skills that you can learn for free. And this, of course, $92,000 median salary with 500,000 job openings. Now, what Google plans to do is something that's absolutely revolutionary. They're going to roll this out for certifications, not just for data, but for other kinds of jobs. And guess what? They're going to actually partner with companies so that you're not just getting some degrees like, oh, like, in the pandemic, maybe, oh, I'm taking some online course. No, you're going to be certified that you have the skills, and then they will help find you a job. This is what the future of work will look like. There's going to be a lot. You're not going to work for the same company for 30 years and get a pension. Those days are behind us. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to be able to get reskilled on things that you find fascinating. And then companies like Google and Microsoft's LinkedIn will be able to find you jobs that last anywhere from a month to maybe a few years all over the world. Jobs that you find more fulfilling, more interesting, you like better, that pay you more than you do now. And guess what? At any time, you will have 2, 3, 5, 10 invitations for a job. Unemployment will be a thing of the past. Anyone who wants to work will be able to work, and they'll be able to maximize their potential doing things that are absolutely incredible. Again, 85% of the jobs of the future of just 6 years from now haven't even been invented. And this is exciting because all of us need to have access to this kind of technology. And guess what? Google is democratizing it. They're making it available to everyone. And of course, this is just the beginning. People like Mark Cuban teaching kids about AI and skills. This is what we need. We need every child in America. We need every adult in America. We need every person in the world with the ability to raise themselves up. The top 1%, the top 10%. Let me show you something that will also, because remember, I love the charts, right? These big ideas that I'm talking about, watching on TED, talking about and learning about the future of AI, the future of technology, the future of Star Trek Utopia. Sure. But what about the real world? Well, let's take a look here. Every week, I like to find more charts to prove that life is getting better and that the utopia, the world of abundance and quality of opportunity, of greater justice for all sentient life is coming. So here you have it. So U.S. wages rising. Now, these are, of course, average wages, right? Hey, the average between me and Bill Gates in terms of wealth is about $50 billion, right? So let's take a look at inflation-adjusted wage growth, right? You might have heard about this, how wage growth for the bottom and the middle class has been stagnant. Well, it hasn't been quite stagnant, but it's been pretty weak, about 20% or so in 40 years. So about 0.4, 0.45% per year. And of course, the rich have been doing much better. But take a look at this, right? So inflation, right? You might have heard, oh my God, 25% inflation since the pandemic. This is terrible. And inflation hurts the poor, right? Yes, it does. As you can see, when we had 15% inflation, inflation adjusted wages for the poorest down 14%. For the middle class, down 4%. Well, guess what? Post-pandemic, Inflation-adjusted wages for the poorest, 10%, 12% up. The mirror image. For the middle class, 3%. The mirror image. Things are getting better. And take a look at this. This is absolutely incredible. Last 40 years, pre-pandemic, inflation-adjusted wages for the poorest Americans, just 0.1% per year. Now, 29 times faster, 2,800% increase. For the middle class, inflation-adjusted wages growing twice as fast. Now, for the richest 10%, they're growing, but things have basically flipped. Now our wages are growing at the rate for the poor. And of course, don't cry for us, Argentina, because guess what? We own all the stocks, 90%. And of course, the stock market more than doubled, and big tech almost tripling in the pandemic. But now let's talk about the rest of the country. Generational median inflation adjusted income is at record highs for every generation. And of course, poverty, education, literacy, child mortality, vaccination, democracy for the last 200 years. Of course, the world has been a mess, but human society has been advancing. Literacy has never been higher. It's never been a more peaceful world. That's right, even with Ukraine, even with the horrors of what's going on in Gaza and the Middle East, it's still the most peaceful time ever. And of course, lowest poverty in the world. Over 1 billion people lifted out of poverty in just the last 20 years. Child poverty on the decline. So truly, as Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, says, AI is the potential to change the world. This is like electricity. This is like the internet. And as the CEO of Alphabet says, this is potentially more important than electricity or fire. And of course, people like you and me are going to have to work together to make sure that we can democratize this, open source this, like what Hugging Face is doing in France, the leading AI company in Europe, so that it's not just big tech that can control this. Don't get me wrong, Google, thank you for teaching people these skills and helping people find the jobs. But we are not going to put the future of humanity just in the hands of big tech. This is a project for all of us. But you can see how this technology can accelerate scientific development by 71 billion fold. And so suddenly, when we have 23 years to solve the climate crisis, oh, suddenly we have all the time in the world, all the time in the world to bring us hope for the future of democracy, for education, for the future of work. And next week, I'm going to bring to you the future and the hope of entrepreneurship. That's right, entrepreneurship has never been more thriving in the United States, and this technology is going to help potentially revolutionize that for every human on Earth, so that we can all bask in the genius of global capitalism, of all human creativity, and all sentient life on spaceship Earth, that we truly can create a world of peace, quality of opportunity, of abundance for all. And that is what's coming. And the only question is, how fast can we get there? With people like you and me working together, the answer is much, much faster. And that gives me hope for a hopeless world, for everything. So thank you for watching. I hope you join us next week when we talk about hope for the future of entrepreneurship. And of course, till then, live long and prosper.